What's going on, everyone? Storm Ginger here, bringing you another video tutorial on the Isle. Today's video is going to be a little bit different. I'm going to be covering the stuff that I've said from previous videos, correcting mistakes that I've made about the game. A lot of the stuff that I've been saying came from personal experience since I started playing the game in December 2015. And so let's dive right in. So after a while of talking to the community on Discord and talking to the devs themselves, I started to get a better idea of the game itself, and I also started to see things that I said that weren't true. Now, this image surfaced in the Discord. It shows the speed at which all of the dinosaurs go. So Allosaurus, which I've said from the previous video, Allosaurus is actually faster than Suchomimus. Do understand that even though this is a speed chart and it shows their top speed, it doesn't account for acceleration. I feel like Suchomimus might actually have a faster acceleration than Allosaurus. For the amount of times I've been run down by a Suchomimus and killed as an Allosaurus. Allosaurus is also faster than Herrerasaurus, but it is not faster than Ostroraptor. So that clears some things up. Ostroraptor goes at an average speed of 27.7 miles per hour as opposed to Allosaurus' 25.1 miles per hour. Now, Herrerasaurus goes 24.7 miles per hour, which is just a fraction less than Allosaurus, but that fraction does make a difference, so keep that in mind. Now, for Allosaurus, it turns out Maiasaura is actually faster than Allosaurus. So Maiasaura might be a little bit difficult to catch up to. That's why you want to set up an ambush on Maiasaurus. Also, Dryosaurus is also faster, so two things. One, either set up an ambush, or three, just leave it alone. It wouldn't really be worth your time for the amount of time and effort you have to put in to catch it. Now, Allosaurus is faster than Therizinosaurus. Therizinosaurus has an average speed of 23.7 miles per hour. So it's a little bit slower, not by much, but it still is. Now, I don't know about the acceleration of Therizinosaurus. Allosaurus seems to have a rather medium acceleration rate till he reaches his top speed. Allosaurus is also faster than Shantungosaurus, so you can catch up to it. Shantungosaurus only goes about 22.6 miles per hour, so it's going to take a while for you to catch up, but eventually you will catch up. Now, Suchomimus is actually the third slowest meat-eating dinosaur in the game. Now, his sprint speed is a decent amount faster than his trot speed, so you can see the difference when you go into that. Suchomimus can outrun the Shantungosaurus, it can outrun the Rexes, and pretty much everything else underneath that. Suchomimus is slower than Herrerasaurus and Allosaurus, and all the other stuff that I mentioned earlier, like Ostroraptor, Dryosaurus, Maiasaura, all that kind of stuff. So Suchomimus is going to be going after more larger things or bulkier things, as opposed to trying to catch the fast stuff like Therizinosaurus, Dryosaurus, Maiasaura, all those kinds of dinosaurs. Now, Herrerasaurus is smaller than Allosaurus, obviously, and slightly slower than Allosaurus. Like I said, it was at 24.7 miles per hour. It can go after Therizinosaurus. It might be a little bit difficult, seeing how bulky and how much damage, the damage output on Therizinosaurus, so you might want to be careful. You want to set up ambushes on Dryosaurus. Now, Gallimimus is the fastest dinosaur in the game, with an average speed of 35.5 miles per hour. So, I guess for everything you're going to want to, set up an ambush for that dinosaur. Now, Herrerasaurus would probably be more happy going after the smaller / slow dinosaurs like Pachycephalosaurus and Diabloceratops, or setting up ambushes on Dryosaurus. It can also go after Shantungosaurus if you get a pack of Herrerasauruses around and they just start bleeding Shantungosaurus. It's eventually going to go down. Now this is going to lead into my next bit, which is talking about damage output. Now this was a thing that I didn't cover from previous videos because I did not know what the damage outputs were. Now I still don't know the bleed output, I just know which one does more than the other, pretty much. So Allosaurus does an average damage of about between 200 and 250 points. Now this is a little bit on the low side compared to the other carnivores in the game, but Allosaurus puts out the highest amount of bleed damage in the game as of right now. So this dinosaur is from the bleeding tier. All the tiers in the game, as in terms of strains and classes, are now based around play style. And Allosaurus is part of the bleeding strain, which is Marchosaurus, Allosaurus, and then Acrocanthosaurus with the premium skins Giganotosaurus and Carcharodontosaurus. Allosaurus' main game plan is to just run in, get some bites off, and just watch as their opponent bleeds to death, and then, finish them off. Now, Suchomimus does an average of 250 to 300 damage. It has more impact damage than Allosaurus, but it puts out less bleed damage. So if you have a Suchomimus and an Allosaurus standing right in front of each other, and they just start biting each other, the Suchomimus is going to win. But if Allosaurus can run in, get some bites, and get out of there before the Suchomimus can turn and start chasing, then eventually the Suchomimus is going to succumb to the bleed damage before the Allosaurus succumbs to its bleed damage if it gets bit once. Now, Herrerasaurus puts out 50 damage, and it puts out bleed damage. Now, Osioraptor also does 50 damage, but the trade-off is it does not do bleed damage unless it's pouncing. And when it pounces, it does about, I think, 5 damage per kick, but it also, does the bleed damage. So, Osioraptor is going to be pouncing more to get some bleed damage, because it'll be more effective that way. But Osioraptor can't pounce Herrerasaurus, so Herrerasaurus just needs to stand its ground against Osioraptor. Now, Herrerasaurus has less health than Osioraptor. Herrerasaurus has about 150 health as opposed to Osioraptor's 200. But again, the trade-off is Herrerasaurus can do bleed damage to Osioraptor, and Osioraptor cannot. Trying to think. So at max damage, a Suchomimus can do 5 bites to kill a Stegosaurus. Now that was kind of a thing I was trying to figure out. How many bites does it take to kill a dinosaur with just pure impact damage alone? Now Stegosaurus is a hard one. Dondi said when I spoke with him that this dinosaur and a lot of the other tank dinosaurs like Ankylosaurus and Triceratops were meant to be taken down with packs. And so you want to get a pack going against a Stegosaurus or an Ankylosaurus. The same trick would work, where you're going to what you want to do is try to get the dinosaur to be stuck in its animation. Like, you want it to do the tail whip, and the player that's on the other side of the tail whip that's not happening runs in and bites. The same is with Triceratops, except it's going to be different. As opposed to trying to get it to do a tail whip, which will cover its entire side, so it's a little bit harder to get in on that. Triceratops has a faster turn radius than Stegosaurus and Ankylosaurus, so you want to have one player positioning the front, keeping it busy, where the other player is going to try and attack it from behind. You want to attack the back of the Triceratops. And the same goes for Diabloceratops. Do keep in mind, Triceratops and Diabloceratops will do bleed damage. And it's pretty devastating to get bleed damage from Triceratops or Diabloceratops. And so my next video is going to be on Ostroraptor. Ostroraptor is a very peculiar and interesting dinosaur, so I'm excited to talk about it. On top of that, it's been very difficult to gather information on the game itself. The main focus is basically on what can Ostroraptor pounce on and what it can't pounce on. If you happen to see that and you want to leave that in the comments below, that'd be very helpful. Alright, so until next time, have fun surviving on the Isle, and I hope to see you all on the field. Peace out.